Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I am the Crypto Tyke, the inflation avoider, and second time I've messed up the intro, but hell, who cares? Anyway, just thought I'd have a little chat about what's going on at the moment, maybe a couple of funny little stories along the way that I've got lined up for you too. Zcash, the more I hear about it, the more I really like about that. It first really came up my attention when a few people who are subscribers to this channel, when I was saying to sell Casper and not be too worried about it because you'll be able to get it cheaper anyway. And lo and behold, that's what happened. They moved into Zcash after selling Casper. And at that point, Zcash was at about $140. And as we can see, it is holding up very well, and it's a lot it's got going for it. And I don't think it's just going up because people, with it being a privacy coin, people are using it and wanting to hide their money away. But I'm very sure a lot of people will be. However, yeah, just recently the more and more I hear about it, the more it's privacy based, but also at the same time not in a scary way that puts off institutions, which is a really important plus to where the market is going to change. I mean, crypto as a whole, because the institutional usage for coins, and not only the ETFs and things like that, but actual usage for real world assets, stable coins, other things, you name it. It is the next step, really, in doing a lot of things institutions and nation states need to do. And Zcash kind of fits nicely enough into it to offer that privacy, but at the same time allow it to be done in a way where it's not, where institutions can control it a little bit better. It's hard to explain, but the long and short of it is that it's not really something that, I mean, you could argue Casper would be like the opposite side to that, where institutions wouldn't necessarily want to use Casper unless they had to. But Zcash is a little bit more friendly in that way. I'm not going to do a whole video about Zcash and going in depth about it. But anyway, my funny little story is I'm probably the only person who's lost money on Zcash. I decided to get into it when it was at about $200 and something, low 200, say 225, 230, something like that. Can't remember exactly what it was. And I thought, right, yeah, okay, let's get one whole Zcash coin. I had that bit knocking around, but I thought, look, let's just go for it. Let's just get in. I still wasn't fully sold on it at that point. I didn't know whether it was just hype that's pushing the price up, and, you know, people using it because they want to hide their money away and whatnot. And I was still very suspicious of that suddenly just losing its way and crashing back down. Now, at this moment in time, the more I hear about it, the more I'm like, longer term, this actually is pretty solid. And I don't think it will necessarily crash back down to $30, $20 or whatever. I think it will have a decent solid price when obviously we hit a bear market, if we're not already in one. I thought, yeah, let's buy it, yeah. And within minutes of me buying it, that coincided with that flash crash. So you can imagine, before I've even clocked on that it's a flash crash going on, I'm suddenly seeing Zcash plummet, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? This is unusual. It shouldn't be plummeting by this much. And I didn't have full trust in it at that point of where I think it could head. So yeah, I had no option but then just to sell my Zcash. And obviously sold it at a loss. It wasn't a major, well, $20 or something like that. You know, I don't know. I'm not sure what it was. But it wasn't a major loss in the scheme of things. But obviously since then, now it's at $500 and odd. And now I can't just go, all right, I'm just going to throw that at it. It's not that simple now, because you're now sacrificing money that could go into other things, and it's not something with the amount of money I have coming in where I can just go, yeah, okay, I'm going to throw what'll probably be $600 by the time I do get to buy it on it, because, well, you're still, again, wanting to put a sizable proportion of that onto Bitcoin and whatnot. So it's a bit now out of range, which is annoying. And yes, I'm the only person to lose money on Zcash probably in the history of crypto. But these things happen, don't they? Hopefully I'll get another opportunity. Hopefully in a bear market, the price will come down significantly, and I probably will end up buying then, if that's the case. But it is something I'm watching, but it is just a little bit frustrating. But this is what it's like just being a normal person. If you've got millions, you can go, oh yeah, no, it's it. I'll buy a few and not worry about it. But we have to look carefully at our money and decide where it's going. We don't have that luxury of just being able to buy anything we want. So, Zcash has been, for me, on the edge of something I'm like looking at, but wondering whether it's a bubble that's going to burst or not. And when I did take the plunge, that is just typical timing. And it feeds back into that loop of, sometimes you feel like it's personal and the market has something against you. It's like I get in and there's supposed to be an alt season, and what's happened? We've got what looks more like a bear market, but you can't think like that. It's not good, because it's not all about you. That's just bollocks, and that's what people tend to do when they're think the world revolves around them. So you don't want to think like that. But sometimes it is hard not to think when things like that happen. And I'm sure I'll regret not just trying to buy some Zcash and buy back in. I'm sure that one will come back to haunt me. But yeah, it's just typical timing. And it was within minutes. I'd just gone, yeah, sod it, let's do it. And then, boom. And it was like, holy shit, what's going on here? And before I had bled out major losses, I just thought, I can at least cut it quickly. And that's what I did. And I'm just kicking myself, obviously. But these things are going to happen, obviously. For anybody in crypto, you're not going to get every call right. And those were exceptional circumstances. You've got to give me credit there, for goodness sake. But I do admit, when I fuck up, that is one thing. I don't sit on here and lie to people about how well I'm doing, or lie about what I'm doing. I'll be honest with you, the good and the bad. I'm back in Injective. Just a reminder to the person who called me an idiot for selling that when it was up at 14, was it, dollars, and cutting some losses on that. Best thing I ever did. I was able to rotate that into other things and make some profits. But yeah, it is what it is. And that is just the way things roll in crypto. And now it's pretty much a bit of a waiting game. Like I did pick up a small quantity of Injective just because, well, it's at a good price, isn't it, really? But I'm also aware that anything could happen over the coming day or two. So I'm keeping most of my powder dry just to see if anything shocking does happen. And I've got limit orders that are speculative waiting to go if that happens. So it's all good. Anyway, guys, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. And also, if you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button and that little bell icon. It is really appreciated. And I do appreciate all the support that I've been getting. I'm surprised I've moved on quite so fast with subscribers. So it is, things are heading in the right direction. And in the other news that I had, obviously, I mentioned I had an MRI last week. Now, this is quite an amusing situation now. I look back on it and I feel a bit silly, because when I first went, I noticed that my liver enzymes were quite high. So they sent me for an ultrasound, and they found on the ultrasound a tumour, quite a big one, and they were concerned about it. Now, I was asking for information, and they were reluctant to really say anything, but they did fast track me for a CT scan to begin with. It was very worrying because my past history, party guy, I stopped drinking 20 years ago, but you still remember all these things that you've done to your liver. And so this was a real problem. I honestly, even the doctor, when he phoned me, sounded nervous and, was like, well, yeah, if it is this, it could be a major problem, and I was in no doubt. So I'm thinking, hell, I'm toast here. And I don't know how long it's been going on before they caught it. And this is why I'll say to you guys, you get to a certain age and they start asking for blood tests all the time from you. And it's easy to put it off. And I was putting mine off. And I am so glad I had my blood test because it could have potentially been a lifesaver. So go for your blood tests because it'll flag things up that you might not realise and catch things earlier than before you start noticing anything yourself. Because with your liver, I wouldn't necessarily have noticed anything until it was too late in the game. So I was very worried because I'd let it go with the blood test for a while that I might have left that too late. So I was seriously, all this time I've been, ever since I took it off fast track, well, they swapped it for an MRI, but then since I took it off fast track, and the guy who made the decision said he was very, very confident he knew what it was. That was a little bit of a game changer for me. So I wasn't feeling that I was toast then, because I'm like, right, I've got to trust this guy's good at what he does. You know what I mean? It would be, that taking things personally I was talking about, where it's like, if anybody is going to fuck up, it's going to happen with me. That's always playing in the back of my mind because it wouldn't be the first time I've been let down by people who should know better, or people who are, supposed to be experts. So all that's playing in my mind, and I'm like, shit, this could be it. But once that information came through, I felt a lot better, still back of my mind, but it was then, went for the MRI, and then it was no news is good news. Got a call, said the doctor will arrange an appointment to call me on the Thursday, and I was like, well, that's all right. It's not in a rush then, and called me on Thursday, just confirmed it was just blood vessels that I might have been born with on my liver that look like a tumour. It's benign, whatever it is. So I don't know whether it is, but it is benign, whatever it is, and there's nothing to worry about. No surgery needed, nothing to do. So it's all good. Happy days. So that's a bit of good news for me on a personal level that I've been kind of holding with me, but it does really focus the mind. And I would just I've suddenly learned how to deal with money and save money and plan for the future and everything like that. And like I said, this is all a 10, 15 year plan. And right from the get go, thinking, shit, just got into it. And now I'm not even going to benefit from my own work. That would just be so typical, and that's how it felt. So you could probably hear a bit of emotion in my voice. It was quite it's strange. It does what it makes you think of, all the things you don't think about, and your own support networks and what's good about them and what's really not. All plays into your mind, even what will happen after me. How's so-and-so going to cope? So it's all that to consider. And also a bit of advice as well. If you've got a partner or anything like that, and you are doing it for both of you, it might be worthwhile having a tangent wallet, something like that, where you both can have a card and teach them how to access it and what to do, and just give some information to them so they get more familiar with crypto. So that way, if anything does happen to you, that's not going to go to waste, and you'll be able to look after the people you care about still. So all of that's really, really important. A bit morbid, I know, but these are all things you've got to consider in life. So I just thought I'd share that little experience on that side of things. This was just a false alarm, but it felt real. And when it feels real, it you get all the same feelings that come with it. So, yeah, it's well worth just, if it's anybody that you've got your next of kin or whatever, get them in being familiar with crypto. And that's why I have a Tangent wallet, and I have a card, she has a card, and we have one in a safe. So, and she's getting more familiar, so that's helpful. Anyway, guys, it's not a lot to report at the moment other than that. Just, yeah, my little story about Zcash. Will I get back into Zcash? Well, we'll see when the time is right. At the moment, I'm just playing the waiting game more than anything else with my own money to see what happens in the coming days. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you later. Bye-bye.